Hi, this is Joseph Backholm, and I want to talk a moment about President Trump's executive order on religious freedom that he signed today, which of course is the National Day of Prayer, so he took that moment to sign an executive order on religious freedom. Now, there have been mixed reactions to this executive order. Some have called it worthless, and others have called it a tremendous step in the right direction for religious freedom. Which is it? Well, let's talk about the story of religious freedom in the Trump administration first. When he campaigned, President Trump said a number of things about religious freedom, campaigned on the issue, and said that if he became president, he would strongly defend religious freedom. And then in February, shortly after the inauguration, a draft of an executive order was leaked to kind of adversarial media outlets, which showed all the things that the administration had been discussing in an executive order. Now, that draft caused the mob to kind of convulse, as they do, about the prospect of people having too much religious freedom, because as we know, the left is really, really opposed to freedom. That being said, the executive order that was signed today is significantly different than the executive order from February. It does a couple things that are important. First, it directs Health and Human Services to consider new regulations dealing with conscience rights as it pertains to Obamacare mandates. All the concerns that there were about being forced to pay for contraception, being forced to pay for abortion. It directs HHS to look at those. The second thing it does is it basically tells the Treasury Department not to harass churches because of things they do politically. Now, the reality is they hadn't been doing that much anyway. It's a reference to the Johnson Amendment, which is something from 1964 that churches have been threatened with for a long time, saying, if you say anything political, then we're going to harass you. So the executive order dealt with that, basically reassuring churches that this Treasury Department is not going to go after churches if they get involved or say something about politics. But the third thing that it did that might be the most significant is it told all the federal agencies that they are going to be under the purview of the Justice Department, and the Justice Department is to create guidance around religious freedom for the entire federal government. Now, the new head of the Justice Department, the new Attorney General, is Jeff Sessions, and he is a supporter of religious freedom. So there's two different responses to this right now. When you compare this to the executive order from February, it's significantly less specific, and you could say weaker. That being said, giving direction to the Department of Justice to create rules around religious freedom if he follows through, if the Department of Justice follows through. This could be a very good outcome that could be as good or better than the previous executive orders. It just doesn't clearly say that it is right now. So, from our perspective, it's still a case of wait and see. It's certainly a good step. We're glad that it's not being ignored. But really, whether this ends up being good or bad now depends on how the Department of Justice reacts. It could be a great thing for religious freedom if they do their job, or it could be absolutely nothing and ultimately a campaign broken promise. But we will have to wait and see. For the Family Policy Institute of Washington, I'm Joseph Backholm.